Welcome to All Women Driven, everyone. I am your host, Sarah Davis, and this is the podcast all about women in automotive and how they got to where they are today. So you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify with All Women Driven. You can also find my own personal channel with Beauty Mama Bear on TikTok, Instagram, and then, of course, Sarah Davis on Facebook. Don't forget to like and share. That is the best way that you can support me is by liking and sharing my videos and my podcast. If you like my channel, you should also check out the Law MacArthur channel. We do a live stream there every Tuesday, along with other informational videos on the Ford lineup. You should also check out the Ford Video Guy Ford Video Guy YouTube channel, where he blogs all about what he does to his vehicles. RagnarCon on YouTube, All Train Nation on YouTube, and Johnny's Car Care and Reviews are also amazing channels to look at, especially Johnny if you're in Canada and looking for information on Ford. So let's get into this with this week's guest, Kathi Kruse. All right. So, what do you do in automotive?
What do I do? Gosh, well, right now, I about 2 years ago, I started a brand called Automotive CFO to Go, and it came from, well, as you know, I've been in retail for my entire life, and when I got out of retail, I went into like digital marketing, but I just got really tired of the, shall we say, shady. I don't know, maybe that's, I'm just gonna use my own language. Yeah, the shadiness of the industry, the vendor, area there, it's too I'm much more I spent most of my time as a CFO and a GM, so,
Okay.
even though I worked every job in a car dealership, but I just come at the car business wanting to know what the return on investment is and getting the best price for something and all of that, so it was just hard for me to be in it anymore. I do like it, some of it still, but anyway, so I really wanted to go back to what I used to do, which was dealership consulting around financials, around financial systems, cleaning up uh, messy books, which can happen. And I said the reason that I kind of got the idea was because I have uh, me and quite a few other people have seen a like a I don't know, reduction in talent, in the talent pool, shall we say, uh, for automotive controllers and GMs. And there's a lot of very kind of, I don't know, I guess it would be just precarious places the dealership can get in if you don't have decent accounting and you don't have systems in
Mhm.
place and you can read your financial statement the right way and you know what the balance sheet is as opposed to an income statement and that
Yeah.
all comes very naturally to me, so I wanted to do it because I felt like it was a better place for me in the industry, so
Yeah.
that's where I'm at now.
Okay. So, do you have any side hobbies or things that you do?
I do. Those that listen to the podcast hear me talk a lot about I'm on the board of a horse rescue,
Okay.
Honolulu Horse Rescue. Honolulu, it's like Honolulu, what is that? That song, Puff the Magic Dragon, in a
Yeah.
land called Honolulu. So I live in Southern California, and the rescue is in Trabuco Canyon, which is in the very southern eastern part of Orange County.
Okay.
And I've been there for 12 or so years, maybe more. Kind of, I don't know, maybe 13 years, maybe. And so, yeah, I rescue horses. We have 17. Well, we just got two more last night. So 19 horses. And
Okay.
we have three sheep and three chickens and a couple of cats, but our neighbor kind of takes care of them.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm out there every weekend taking care of
Yeah.
horses, doing ranch work kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
Sounds busy.
I do the online fundraising and the social media and the website related things and all that. So in my
Okay.
spare time.
Yeah. So, what was the name of the rescue called again?
Honolulu Horse Rescue.
Okay.
It's
Connolly.
And it's a weird spelling because the founder is an English teacher and she likes old English spellings, which is
Ooh.
a nightmare for marketing. It's Hanaeleh is how you spell it. It's Hanalei.org if anybody wants to visit the website.
Okay.
And we're on social, so we're pretty active on social and Insta and Facebook and Twitter, but not for long. There's still somewhat of a well, there still is actually a community on Twitter. I will never call it X. So we stay there because there is a pretty good amount of both other horse rescues, people that are interested in horses and want to know our stories and things. So it's still working okay for me, but
Okay.
we'll probably move to Threads or Blue Sky at some point,
Yep.
just as my time allows.
Yes, I get that. So, you mentioned a podcast. What's that about?
Your dad's been on it before, I think twice
Yes.
maybe. It's called The First Pencil. It
Okay.
was just born out of myself and Mike, the car guy, Mike Carrera. We're friends in real life. So during COVID, we just said, we've got to talk every week so we just, feel better, just
Yep.
because COVID was rough. And so one day I just thought, what if we did a podcast? So that's what we decided to do. So we just started doing a podcast. It was basically to talk about the car business that we adore, and then uh, 80s and 90s music, or really any music. But he and I both grew up in LA, and
Okay.
uh, so during the height of the 80s, and
Yeah.
it was. We've been to many, many clubs. We've seen many, many bands. I'm surprised I didn't know him then, but I didn't. But nonetheless, so we have a lot of stories around that. But we talk about social media on automotive and just dealership, operations and customer experience, things like that. So
Okay.
and we've been on a bit of a hiatus because Mike. So one of my clients actually was in need of a sales manager, and Mike, like me, was tired of the riffraff in the vendor stuff.
Yeah.
We're just car people. We're from automotive retail, and there's
Yeah.
nothing that's going to change that. And there's a lot of people that were in retail that made it good in the vendor world, but for us, it's not great in certain circumstances. So like I say, my client needed a GSM, and so I told him, and he went and talked to them, and they hired him. So
Well, there
he's
you go.
he's been working quite a lot. We tried to record last Monday, but it didn't quite work out. So we're going to try again this Monday.
Okay.
That's his day off.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will work out.
Yeah. So, have you always been in automotive?
Yes, I have. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What
My
got you started?
my grandfather was a dealer in the 60s and
Okay.
50s and 60s in downtown Los Angeles. He had a Buick. He was a minority owner. The dealer was Charles Howard, who owned Seabiscuit,
Okay.
and it was a Buick store. It was called Howard Buick, and he was the CFO, and he passed away before I was of working age. So it didn't really dawn on me until later in life, that because I didn't realize, the connection necessarily. But my first job in college, when I was in college, was working at a bank, and there was I was the lead teller at the bank, and so I would handle like all the merchants, and the one of them was a car dealer. So he offered me a job to be his like assistant. So I'm like, it was more money. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, why not, right? And and then I got bored after a while, and then I asked him if I could sell cars, and he said yes. And they had a weird setup with the way that they sold cars. It was no commission, and it was weird, but nonetheless. But then I would see the controller guy walk in the store every day, sort of like mysterious, and people were kind of afraid of him. But I thought maybe he has some work I could do. So he learned pretty quick. It took him a little bit, but he figured out he could trust me. And then he figured out also that I could do his work while he went to golf. And so that's how that happened. And then that was a Mazda Subaru, and then they bought a Chevy store, and then I kind of
Okay.
was heavily involved in that. And then when I mentioned earlier about working every job in the business, after that, um, I worked at it was a Nissan store that had been closed for a year, and it was bought by someone I knew, um, who was a fairly famous car dealer in Southern California.
Okay.
His name was Maury Sage. He owned Universal City Nissan. And if anyone's ever been to Universal Studios in Southern California, it's directly across the 101 freeway from there. And
Okay.
so his general manager at the time bought this dealership called Freeway Nissan, and it was that GM, me, and a few salespeople and a few technicians. And so yeah, I shampooed rugs. I got the store open. It had been closed for a year, like I said, and I pretty much worked every job. I worked, service manager, parts manager, of course the accounting, but sales manager, F&I, you name it.
Yeah.
So that's where I got a really good, which I think makes me unique in that because I was able to do that and it just came natural to me. I was able to use that in my later career as uh, having good insight into the way the departments interact with each other and to
Yeah.
have compassion and understanding for how hard it is to be a car salesperson, for instance, or to be a
Yeah.
service advisor. It's hard work, and a lot of people, let's say in the office, don't like car salespeople, like that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I think I just have a unique view of things, so it made it
Yeah.
for my later career to be I just after that, I got really burnt out though. I worked 7 days a week, so,
Yeah.
uh, so
Yeah.
I ended up just going
Yeah.
into the CFO type stuff, controller, and then general manager.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I can understand that viewpoint. I started here in our wash line at 16.
oh,
Moved up. I did front desk for a little bit, and then I helped my dad on the website when I came back from college. I
awesome.
helped. I was then in our service department. I was their cashier. And then I helped with our rentals. I took over that for 3 months while our lady was on leave for surgery. And um, from there, I left, came back as the photographer. I've done our BDC, and now I'm doing this. So I've been in every department that we've had at our dealership.
That
So
is
I get
big,
that
big
viewpoint
difference.
that it's
Yep.
nice to know how all the different departments interconnect.
Yes. Yep. It gives you great insight, especially if you go into management because there's a lot of departmental squabbles, or maybe
Hmm.
that's strong word, but just there's a lot of quality salespeople that want to sell, and when that drives them, and sometimes understanding that if you're a salesperson and you're going into service and you need your vehicle recon and maybe they don't have time or whatever the case, it just, as a manager, you're able to manage people better and help them understand each other better. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah. Yeah.
So you've been through a lot of different brands and dealerships. What is your favorite, or what's your vehicle preference?
Huh. Well, um, I guess I could say to drive, you mean?
Yeah.
I would say German.
Okay.
I used to just only say BMW, but I'm not trying to diss BMW these days, but they've got a lot a lot of models, and their brand is just as an enthusiast speaking, it's just a lot of models that they're trying to be everything to everybody, and hey, it's working, they're selling, but um, I managed Beverly Hills BMW for a while, and we were part of a larger auto group, and we took that store over when it was doing terrible, and we grew it to be number one in sales, number one in service, number one in parts, number one in CSI. And I know of what I speak when we were heavily involved in the community and with the brand, especially had a lot of events and things like that. So I was always a BMW enthusiast, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But I just prefer German cars, just the way they drive.
Yeah. Now Tim mentioned that Were you trying to get a Super Duty from us at one point?
Yes, let me think. Yes, the rescue needed a, now I'm not a truck gal, so uh, but yes, it was a, if I remember, I think it was I wanna say an F-250. Does that
Yeah.
sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was right coming out of COVID, I remember, and, uh, I was so frustrated. Oh my gosh. This terrible, terrible dealership that's
You
in
couldn't
Southern
get
here,
you couldn't
terrible.
get trucks. It was hard to get
Yeah, it
trucks.
was hard to get trucks. But we were coming out of it. I remember there was, it wasn't even, we waited. I told everybody, just wait. We didn't absolutely have to have a new truck for the rescue because we had one already that was, it's a 2004, so it's old, but
Yeah.
we had another one that it needed a transmission and we just didn't really want to spend that money. So I said, if we could possibly wait until inventories level out, so I think we waited a little bit till maybe 2022-ish later. But anyway, so yeah, someone referred me to this guy, and I was pretty upfront, as I always am when I try to work a deal with somebody in the business, because don't try to don't try to retail me, dude. Okay. I'm not gonna play the game. And I guess he thought, because it never stopped. Just kept trying to mess with me. And I finally just said, I'm gonna call the GM. And in midst of all of that, I was so frustrated. So I reached out to your dad. He said, well, we can get the vehicle. And I think they were gonna either ship it to us or something. But in the interim, because I didn't want to do business with this dealership, I don't want to
Yeah.
give people my business. So, and even that I told the guy, he was just an idiot beyond. He kept trying,
Yeah.
like I asked him for a purchase order. Just to give you an example, I asked to send me a purchase order. He takes his phone and takes a picture of his screen and sends it to me. I'm like, no, I need a purchase order. And then I happen to look at the screen and I noticed there was an extra 2 grand just added on. I said, do you realize you're talking to me, right? Do you know what I mean, I've already told you my background, what I just, and he just kept going. And so finally, in the midst of all of it, the GM called me. I told him the whole story. He apologized and he gave me to a really nice guy who to this day I still refer customers to. But it ended up being a Chevy instead of a Ford. So, but at
Yep.
that point we were like, we're worn out. So,
Yeah.
so I think I text your dad, or I think we were Twitter DMing, but I just said, I think it's handled. So,
Yeah.
but boy, talk about, that's where, okay, let's just talk for a minute about your dad, because I will always talk about your dad and how awesome he
Yeah.
is. The way that he and your dealership does business is how to succeed in the future and currently and for the long term.
Mhm.
This stuff about that we're seeing, I see it every day. This, transactional type of business that just try to get as much money out of the customer as you can, and be,
Yeah.
treat them with no respect and all of this. I It's gotten, Mike and I talk about this all the time, but
Yeah.
it's not good. And so
It's the way of
you,
the old world.
it's
People just put up with it because that's how it was.
yes.
And now they're starting to see we don't have to put up with that. I don't have to be treated badly. I can get what I want, and you don't have to be mean or rude or shady.
Yes.
We can make this an honest transaction. And so
Yes.
people are done with dealerships that are like that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think some of them come to expect it. People, because I'm sure you get this too when you work in the car business. A lot of people that aren't in the car business like to tell you stories about them. And we discovered it at Beverly Hills BMW, because, well, first you're in Beverly Hills, so it's an interesting environment. But um, we did things the right way, and we were printing money, literally printing money. If anybody that's listening looks at dealership financials, there's one metric it's net to sales, a percentage of net to sales. These days,
Yeah.
you're lucky to get 1%, 2%. We were at 6.5%.
Wow.
And they're BMWs, so the sales is pretty high. So, but we proved it. This is what I tell actually clients and people that talk to me now about what I do now. It's like, it's been proven that when you do things the right way, you treat the customer well, you treat your employees well, you give them a fair deal, you're upfront, do all these things, you feel better, they bring their friends, they come back to buy. It's what you
Yeah.
guys do. And that's why I'm such a big fan because
Yeah.
I don't see it a lot out here, that's for sure.
Yeah. We do the good dealer moment
Oh,
each Tuesday in our live stream.
oh,
And one of our members for that YouTube channel has made a list for the Maverick Truck Club, and some of the things that get dropped in that forum are awful.
yep.
And I'm like, how dare they? I hear about
Is it?
these dealerships, and then I'm just like, you're giving us a bad name.
Yes, yeah. And what forum is it? Is it on Reddit or no?
So this is the Maverick Truck Club.
Oh,
It is
Maverick.
online.
Okay. Mhm.
And you just type in Maverick Truck Club.
Okay.
And they only talk about Mavericks in there.
Okay.
But Tim and I are heavily in there just because we made it big off of Maverick. Maverick is our thing.
Yeah.
Um, I consider myself a Maverick specialist because I know the Maverick inside and out. Um, it's just how we are. But the Maverick Truck Club was actually recognized by Ford and Ford Performance as an enthusiast club. They're an official Ford enthusiast club now.
Oh, very cool.
So we actually got to be there when they announced it at Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Oh, awesome.
So the Maverick Truck Club is a wonderful community. You get a couple of people like reposted the good dealer list. And I said, "Here's the good dealer list. Please add yours in there if you've had a good experience, or give us a warning if you did not have a good experience,
Yes.
because we can't say bad dealers. Some dealers were getting upset about that. So
Oh,
we
too
say,
bad.
let's do a warning. Um, let's do a warning so that they know, hey, I had a bad experience here. They may not be a bad dealership, but I had a bad experience with this sales associate. Um, so we
Sure.
have that. But
Whatever
like I
you
said,
say.
good dealers, zero.
Exactly.
And I
Okay,
was just
so
like,
this good dealer list, okay, it must be for is it I'm just
I can
joking a
share
little
it with
bit.
you.
Yeah, share it with me because okay, so here's why. Because I do a new weekly newsletter and I'm laughing because I want to say about 3 months ago, I'm always on the lookout for good dealer experiences. And I'm busy, entrepreneur, horse rescue, all that. So, I mean, I'm online pretty a lot, but I don't see like everything there is. So I like to hear about good stories. But anyway, so in the newsletter that I do, I have like categories. And so I created a category called good dealer stories.
Yeah.
And or dealers doing good. That's what it is. Dealers doing
Yeah.
good. And well, I had one more besides the one that I created the heading for, and I haven't had one since. And so
Yeah.
I will definitely join the truck club so that I can hear the bad ones because I write a blog
Yeah.
too. But the good dealer list, I would love to. I love
Yeah.
to spread the word about good dealers. That's because that's my. I
Yeah.
just feel like
And in there, you'll see the bad dealers are typically ones that are adding on packages like an appearance package,
mm-hmm,
things like that, or
mm-hmm,
excessive dealer fees,
mm-hmm,
um, things like that. You'll see those, or back when they were adding 5,000 on
yeah,
um,
mm-hmm,
a markup, which at that point that was the market rate. That's where everyone was, um, and we had ours marked down to 1,000 over.
yeah, I
So,
understand the market when it was with COVID.
but
With Ford, it's different, but with imports, you definitely had some a lot of shortages. And
well,
when there aren't any cars, the price goes up. That makes sense. It's the gouging part that
Well,
was
even now with like Ranger Raptor, they only make so many of those.
right. Sure.
So theirs are 10 over,
Yeah.
even here.
Mm.
Um, no, not Ranger Raptor. That's Raptor 37 on the F 150. Ranger Raptor, we're at invoice, which no one else in the country is doing. So we have more orders than anyone in
I love
Ranger
it.
Raptor right now.
I love it, man. I love it.
People calling, are you really doing that? You're not kidding? You're not joking? This isn't a gag? Like, okay, what's the catch? Like, are you gonna add on packages? I'm like, no, you order it. You're getting it at invoice, $500 doc fee. That's it.
Yep.
That's what you're getting. Now, if you want to add an appearance package, we can sell it to you. We're not gonna force you. And it just baffles them. that we're doing
'Cause they're
this.
used to something else. They're
Yes.
acclimated to something else, and
Yes.
yeah, my and even adding the packages, that's bad, but when they add the package and then say it's pre-installed, that's one of my favorites. That's what the guy at the Chevy does. It's
Unfortunately,
pre-installed.
our aftermarket person does window tint on almost every
Uh-huh.
vehicle
Mhm.
and bed liner on all trucks. Um,
Which are 2 things that people likely
typically
want.
like it.
Yes,
Yes.
they like it.
Now, for me, I don't do a bed liner just because I believe, hey, you have to rough up the bed, you have to rough up the paint to put the bed liner on. Why not get use out of that bed,
Yeah.
make it dirty, get it all scratched up, then refresh the bed in 4 to 5 years with a bed liner. And even I say they have the drop in liners come from factory standard on some of them. Let them get scratched up. And take out the drop in liner, let the bed get scratched up, put in the drop in liner, let that get scratched up, and then put in a spray in bed liner at the 15-year mark. But that's just my thought where I'm just like, it's going to get scratched up anyways. I might as well get some use out of it and not pay for it right now.
Yeah. Yep.
But we do that just so we can keep our guys moving and keep our people
Yep.
busy.
Yep.
But those are two things that most people typically get on their vehicle.
That's good. Yeah. Yep.
So, now getting into the automotive world, you were kind of handed it. You were kind of like, "Hey, do you want to come join us here and join us in this job?" Have you found it hard to be in, or like a lot of men aren't welcoming to women? Have you seen a lot of women in this world?
No.
Not at the dealerships. Like I've seen it in some other interviews, but at the dealership level, it tends to be women are in the office. They are up doing the paperwork,
Mhm.
and not typically in any other form.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
So, like I've started seeing women in the technicians.
Yeah,
I'll be
there's
doing an
2.
interview with one that we have here.
Mhm.
Um, but for you, was it hard to get through that?
Honestly, at the during the time of it, it was I think most car gals would say this, when you're in it, you don't realize it. You're just coping and you're minimizing it to cope. That's what I did.
Hmm.
But the truth of the matter is, it's when it gets serious, and this is when I worked for a uh, with the public companies in the early days of the public companies. There was no advancement, and when there was, it was paid the women less. I actually had a guy, and this was someone that was used to be my friend, not anymore, but for a long, that's another whole long story. But I went in doing some things like automotive CFO to go stuff just for him to straighten out because he had I think about $5 or $6 million in contracts in transit and didn't know where all his cash was. And long story short, they had cars burning gas that were not paid for 18 months.
Oh no!
I know. And so I straightened it all out and just got the finance manager to keep calling customers. Uh, and when you have that situation, there's other places that are broken as well. So I
Yeah.
tried to straighten it all out. And and I I was going to go to, but actually where the store I was at across the street was Beverly Hills BMW, and a lot of my friends worked there. And so the guy there had asked me if I would come there, and I didn't want to really because I don't know, I just had had enough. I think of um, just the riffraff of being treated poorly. So, but he ended up convincing me that it was good, and we were going to go public, and there was a lot of opportunity and stock options and all that. So I finally said yes. But in the interim of that little 5 month dance, the general manager. The regional general manager of that dealership that I helped straighten out, that I helped them collect all their money on, offered me the general manager job and wanted to pay me $7,000 a month. And I was like, "Do you realize I know what the general manager now makes? Like, I know that, right? I know what all of your general managers make that are men, And he still stuck by the 7 grand. So I said, yeah, pass. No
Yeah.
thanks. But that's just one of many, many situations. It's twofold. It's one with the
Yeah.
pay less, but it's two with the just the work environment. In California, it's different. We have a lot of very strong laws about harassment and hostile work environment, and plaintiffs' attorneys that will, help dealers understand those laws. So,
Mhm.
but and I had a guy reach out not long ago that he wanted to hire some female salespeople. They were in North Carolina. It was a big store, like 500 cars a month or so. And he said, I want to hire female salespeople, but when I hire them, they don't stay. And I said, do you ever ask them why? And he said, no. I said, there's going to be those that won't be able to sell. Maybe they want to try selling and they can't or whatever. But for the most part, if you're having a pattern, you should investigate a pattern and find out why they left and just be super transparent about it and like open and honest and say, just tell me why you're leaving.
Mhm.
And because, the guy was a good dude, like I said, sold a bunch of cars, but there's a lot of old ways, kind of perceptions, and it's very difficult to change those ingrained perceptions.
Yeah.
Um, so I had a lot of really bad experiences, but
Yeah.
that's why I'm as tough as I am now
Yeah.
because because of that. So,
Yeah.
but
I've
I
been
wish more women would be feel welcome. Like in
Yeah.
you guys' store, I'm sure, and there's other stores where they are welcome and it's recruited even, but in many, many, many there aren't.
And I have seen a few women enter our sales team, but
Hmm.
our sales team can be a bit rough with each
Hmm.
other.
Hmm.
And so the women don't stick in our sales team.
Yeah.
Um, they move over to our BDC
Yeah.
or somewhere else, but they don't stick in our sales team.
Yeah.
And I've grown up here, and so a lot of our sales staff are actually have been here since I started when I was in high school.
Uh,
And so I know all of them.
yeah.
A lot of them know of me, and so I don't think they might be a little bit different with me because they've seen me as a kid. They've watched me grow older. They also know who my dad is. But they also know that if I have a problem with you, I'm going to let you know.
Yeah.
And I'm going to not stand for it and I'm going to do something about it. And so they know, not to mess with me because I'm going to tell them and
Hmm.
it's going to be heard
Hmm.
because I'm not going to put up with it. So while I'm on the showroom, I'm the only female
Hmm.
in our showroom, or in that area even. So like there's some like our service side has a lot of our women that are on the same level as me, but everyone else is like in the offices.
Hmm.
So I get almost no interaction with other women
Hmm.
in our dealership at this point.
It's a cultural thing. Every workplace has a culture, right?
Yeah.
And culture, in order to shift it or change it, or you have to have training and ongoing
Yeah.
like so
Yeah.
people can realize. A lot of them don't even realize.
Mhm.
Um, and like you said, this very common, right? The sales department is rough.
Yes.
Uh, it's rough for women, but if you're a guy, what if you're a guy that doesn't want to be rough, right? But you got to fit in. It's all about the culture and fitting in.
Yes.
So,
We
so
actually had one leave recently
mm,
and I was like, "Why did he leave?" And he said his son actually still works here and he's like, "Well, he didn't like how some of our salesmen would run to the door. They would page overhead, BDC, we have someone here.
mhm,
Some of our salesmen run to the
mm,
door." I'm like,
mm,
how does that come off? You're getting charged at by like several people.
yeah,
I get it. He
yeah,
felt like it was constricting. Like he didn't get a chance. He
yeah,
didn't have a chance because he's not going to present himself that way.
yeah,
So he left.
yeah, yep,
So
yep.
yeah,
It's everyone talks about it. Everybody wants it to be better, but nobody does anything about it hardly. And
yeah, change
there
is
is
hard and it's
there's well, there's
uncomfortable.
a lady that is a HR director of a very large auto group who is trying her best to do and is getting a lot of support for changing their group. Very large group. I think they've got about 35 stores. I won't name her, but they're very much into employee satisfaction, culture, balance, because too much of anything is not good, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the rough comes in. When there's too much of one thing, the
Yeah.
culture starts shifting, and some people don't feel like they're going to fit in. And if you're interested, if I've spent most of the first 3 months, I was not a manager in the car business, but the rest of the time I was a manager. And
Yeah.
when you're a manager, you want everything to be good for people to come to work, because then they are going to be able to produce and they'll feel happy and they're making an impact. And the
Yeah.
money is one thing, but it's making an impact that makes most people want to get up and go to work. And so
Yep.
why not make it the best you can for them? And it is possible to do. It just takes an effort.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, there is some very bad,
Yeah.
very, very negative experiences,
Yeah.
especially here in Southern California.
Yeah. I think that's kind of why I like the off-road community a bit
Yeah.
more.
Hmm.
They're a lot more friendly.
Yeah.
I really enjoy them.
Yeah.
So going along with this, who or what inspires you?
Um, who or what inspires me? Well, I gain my own inspiration from listening to stories about the car business for sure. But I practice yoga, I meditate, I take time so that I can have a practice that keeps me centered. And it doesn't always happen, but I think everyone should do that. But anyone that certainly is a manager, or someone that maybe is an entrepreneur. Um, Who inspires me? Um, gosh, there's I have a lot of inspiration from a lot of different sources. There's some people in animal rescue. I've always been an animal activist my whole life, so um, having the chance to be at a place has been great. But being in that community, we do a lot of advocacy at the federal and the state level too.
Yeah.
So there's some leaders, some political leaders that inspire me that really want to do the right thing. Dina Titus is an awesome gal. She's in Arizona. She's a
Okay.
congressperson, and she's very pro wild animal, wild horse. So I'm trying to think of anybody business-wise. I mean, there are, I can't think of any right this minute. I'm sure there are many, but,
Yeah.
yeah, can't think of any right now.
Yeah. So how can we encourage women to get into this community?
Change the culture.
Yeah.
Women can encourage women all you want, but if the men don't come along and start doing it, it ain't gonna happen, and
Yeah.
that's why we're here right now. So
Yeah.
I wrote a couple of posts about attracting, using, what kind of marketing to use to attract female car buyers. I've talked about inclusion in just the sales and what the benefits. There's such huge benefits to it.
Yeah.
It study after study after study tells you make more money and have more productivity if you have an inclusive workforce.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you, like I just said earlier about it's too much of one thing is not good. If you have balance, it's good, but it takes put attention on it, and it takes hard work towards it. So I know that I know Toyota and Hyundai have programs, at the factory level. I'm sure Ford probably does too. But at the dealership level, I don't know. I don't know the answer. Um,
Yeah.
I would tell you that if I owned a dealership, I would do it. If I was managing a dealership, I would do it. Do I recommend it to clients? Absolutely, because of the reasons I just stated. Because you do have more productivity and you higher profits when you do it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I wish there was. I mean, I don't think we've even changed that much. We have come a little ways, but nothing much has changed.
Yeah.
Nothing much.
Yeah.
I hate to be
Um
I hate to be so negative, but it is true.
yeah. So I was thinking back. Now, have you taken any college courses or done any college at all?
Yeah, I have a degree, but I
Okay.
don't use it, never needed to use it. I actually have 2. I have a art history and business, and it doesn't
Okay.
help me in any way.
Okay. I know my dad has a college degree in parks and recreation.
Oh, awesome.
So, and I'm like, but you work in the car business. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, some of the things help. I think they helped him get
Okay.
to this point.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's like, I don't use it.
No, that's been my experience. Most really good car guys that I've known have barely made it out of high school.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a college here, Cerritos College in Southern California, and they have they partner with the local auto dealer association and offer courses to a lot of it is around technicians and service advisors.
Mm.
But for a while, they had a sort of general manager course to how to read a
Okay.
financial statement and that kind of thing. And you would get an actual certificate or a degree in that. And I was all for it. And the guy that taught it is a super good car dude, and he just was great. And he asked me to teach a couple of the classes over a
Mhm.
period of a couple years, and I was interested in it, but they wanted me to have a master's degree to be a teacher, and I'm like, no one has a master's degree in the car business. I mean, if they
No.
do, it's by accident, but for the most part, nobody has a master's.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't want to go back to. I don't have any. Just going to
Yeah.
college right now would be just boring.
Because I've thought about going back for media, because Jim and I
Yeah.
are in journalism, media type of
Mhm.
stuff, and or marketing, that type
Yeah.
of thing. But at this point, I'm like, what can they teach me that I can't learn in the real world at this point?
Exactly. You're farther along than any student that would take media. The only thing I would say if you really want to do it is just do something general like business, where you get an idea of how business works and profitability and that kind of thing, because that'll always
Yeah.
serve you well, even in your personal finances kind of thing. But
Yeah.
same with accounting. There's a gal at a dealership that was not working out very well in the office, and she was in accounting in college, and she had a few more months to go. And it made me think about, car dealership accounting is very specialized.
Mm.
It In all accounting, you kind of have to understand the business itself in order to do the accounting part of it. But in the car dealership world, it's almost like you do better by working in the dealership in some capacity and then go into accounting, because then you would know how
Yeah.
everything flows and how it works.
Which
Having a
makes
degree in
sense.
accounting doesn't really necessarily help you. That's
Yeah.
why uh, people that hire dealers that hire CPAs to be their controllers, CPAs are for filing tax returns. That is their job, is to file the tax return, make sure that the records are right, and they file tax returns. They don't run accounting offices
Yeah.
and dealership accounting departments, and almost always doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And so it's like I said, it's the same thing. Like, if you don't, you do better finding a mentor, um, or just being a sponge. For Just go there and say, okay, I kind of like accounting, or I kind of like media. Let me go in, be a sponge.
Yeah.
And that's the one good thing about the car business, is you can get experience and stuff that you maybe excites you or that interests you. And you can, if you apply yourself, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's almost the old way of learning where you would go and apprentice with someone
Yeah.
to learn. They had schools to teach you the basics, but then to actually get a job, you went and you apprenticed with someone
Yep.
to learn. They didn't have college.
Yep.
So, yeah, I feel like this world's almost coming to that point where college is out and go
Yeah.
apprentice, go find out what you want to do, go find your passion.
Yes. Especially
Um,
because
yeah.
colleges have, there's a guy named Professor Scott Galloway that I have followed for years. You might know him. He's a marketing professor at NYU, but he's also an entrepreneur, and he's got a couple podcasts. And anyway, he has a very strong opinion about the people that are accepted at some of the major colleges.
Hmm.
The acceptance rate when he was in school, he went to UCLA, and he's 50-ish. He went to UCLA, and the acceptance rate was like 90%. It's down to like 4% or some crazy amount.
Wow.
So they're being, and that's UCLA. We're not talking about
Yeah.
Ivy League or Stanford or those, right? He also went to Stanford, but he's got a very strong opinions about this not allowing certain, an age, not an age group, but like a income class that isn't available to them. It's not
Yeah.
like only rich people can go to these, and even then, the rich people don't always get picked because they have this very low acceptance rate. So,
Yeah.
um, what I think they've done is um, made it so that people go, well, let's look at an alternative because if I can't get in there, let me just go, do something else or
Yeah.
go to another school that isn't quite as, I don't know, non-inclusive, shall we say. But yeah, but girl, I got forced on me in when I worked at Freeway Nissan. There was nobody else to do the work, so I had to do it. I had
Yeah.
to. That's why I had to work 7 days. I would make a joke because I would back in those days we had forms for repair orders, for instance. So a repair order, I would order the form, I would pay for the form, I would greet the customer, fill out the form, I would take it to parts, I would have the parts, or I'd take the part and put it on the form, then I'd give it to the tech. It was the only time I gave it up. The tech would do his work, then give it back to me, I would cashier it, and then I would go put it in accounting, post it in accounting, and then I would file it. It was
Yeah.
like from get to go, the whole thing, I did everything on it. And but it was because I had to. It wasn't just, there just wasn't anybody else to do it. And
Yeah.
so I think, even though that's not ideal, I don't wish that on anybody, but I do think that if you have even the most, if you want to do something in the car business, go and you can learn. And people
Yeah.
are pretty good about being mentors and training.
Yeah.
Um, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you were wonderful. Um,
So are you.
well, thank you. It's great to hear your story. To help us, push women further in automotive. You know, and all of that, and your horse rescue. Horses are near and dear to my heart, so hopefully I can find somewhere here where I can get into that.
Girl, find
So
a nonprofit rescue and just see if you can volunteer because they need it. All of
I
them need
think we have one here that's
it.
about horse therapy.
Okay.
Um, yep, I think we have that around here. Other than that, I don't know if we have a rescue per se, but might
But
be a start.
you never know. You never know.
So, yeah. Well, thank you for joining us here today.
Welcome. Thanks for
Uh,
having me.
yeah. Where can we find you on socials?
Okay, that's a whole nother like episode. Uh, but for now, I'm just so over the whole tech bro
I get that.
Zuckerberg Facebook ad thing anyway, like I
Yeah.
say, it could be a whole nother episode. But I'm everywhere. You can Google me. I'm Facebook,
Okay.
Instagram. I'm on Threads. I'm still on Twitter, but I don't ever post. And you can just, yeah, I'm everywhere.
All
So
right. Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us and have a wonderful day.
you too. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of All Women Driven, where we are looking into the past of the women in automotive to drive women forward in the future. Join us next week or join us in 2 weeks for another episode, and we'll see you later. Bye.